The dense jungle of planet Xylos welcomed no one, least of all humans. Captain Eva Rostova knew this as she crouched among the massive, phosphorescent ferns, her breath steady despite the suffocating humidity. She gestured silently to her squad, the elite Terran reconnaissance unit known as the Shadow Walkers, signaling them to hold position. Through her tactical visor, Eva scanned the clearing ahead where Cathar warriors had established their ambush point. The feline-like aliens moved with lethal grace, their muscular bodies adorned with tribal markings that seemed to shimmer in the dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy. 6 targets, she whispered into her comm. Heavily armed, likely scouts for the main force. Orders, Captain. Lieutenant Thorne's voice crackled back, his tone eager as always. Too eager. Eva hesitated, studying the Cathar's positioning. They were waiting for the Terran supply convoy scheduled to pass through this sector in 2 hours. If successful, the ambush would cost dozens of human lives and critical resources. Her orders were clear. Neutralize all threats to Terran operations on Xylos. We take them out, Eva finally said, her voice cold and professional. Swift and clean. No survivors, no alarms. Teams Alpha and Bravo flank from north and east. Charlie, provide suppression. Execute in 30 seconds. As her squad moved into position with practiced silence, Eva felt the familiar weight settle in her chest. How many operations had she led now? How many kills? The Terran-Cathar conflict had raged for nearly 5 years, and Eva had been on the front lines from the beginning. She was good at what she did, too good perhaps. The Shadow Walkers had the highest success rate of any special ops unit in the Terran military coalition, and Eva's reputation for ruthless efficiency had earned her both respect and fear. But the war was changing her, hollowing her out. Each mission blurred into the next, each kill adding another phantom to the shadows that haunted her rare moments of sleep. In position came the synchronized whispers through her comm. Eva pushed aside her thoughts. Execute. The Shadow Walkers struck with devastating precision. Silenced weapons spit death from multiple angles, while sonic disruptors prevented the Cathar from coordinating a defense. 2 aliens fell immediately, their bodies crumpling to the jungle floor without even a growl of warning. The remaining 4 managed to respond, their own weapons, a brutal combination of advanced energy technology and primitive blades, flashing in the dim light. A Cathar warrior leaped toward Eva's position with impossible speed, but she was ready. She sidestepped, fired twice into the alien's torso, and watched dispassionately as it crashed into the undergrowth. The battle lasted less than 2 minutes. When the echo of the final shot faded into the humid air, 5 Cathar warriors lay dead among the ferns and vines. 5, not 6. Perimeter check. Eva ordered, her senses heightened. We're missing 1. Her squad spread out, weapons raised, scanning the dense vegetation. Eva moved deeper into the jungle, following a trail of disturbed foliage and droplets of dark purple blood, Cathar blood. The wounded warrior couldn't have gone far. A sound, barely perceptible, made Eva spin to her left, weapon raised. 20 meters away, half hidden behind a massive tree trunk, a Cathar warrior stood braced against the bark. Even wounded, he was an impressive specimen. Over 2 meters tall, his muscular body covered in a short coat of tawny fur with distinctive black markings across his shoulders and face. Unlike the others, this one wore additional ornaments that suggested higher rank or status within the Cathar hierarchy. Their eyes met across the distance, hers cold blue, his amber with vertical pupils now widened in pain and defiance. Captain, we've secured the perimeter. Status. Thorne's voice in her ear. Found our 6th target, Eva replied. Converge on my position. The Cathar warrior seemed to understand that reinforcements were coming. With a growl that sounded almost like resigned laughter, he pushed himself away from the tree and charged Eva, wielding a wicked curved blade in one hand and a compact energy weapon in the other. Eva stood her ground, firing 3 precision shots. 2 struck the warrior's shoulder, causing him to stumble, but his momentum carried him forward. She dodged the wild swing of his blade, kicked the energy weapon from his weakened grip, and delivered a precise strike to his wounded side. The Cthar roared in pain, but managed to hook one clawed foot behind her ankle, sending them both crashing to the ground. They rolled through the undergrowth, the alien's superior strength nearly overwhelming Eva's technique. She felt his hot breath on her face, saw the flash of fangs as he snarled. With a practiced movement, Eva slipped a vibro-knife from her belt and drove it into the warriors. Side. The Cthar howled, his grip loosening enough for Eva to break free. She rolled away, coming up in a crouch with her sidearm aimed at the alien's head. The warrior lay on his back, blood seeping from multiple wounds. His chest heaved with labored breaths, but remarkably, his eyes remained clear and focused on Eva. She had seen many Cthar die in combat. They typically fought to their last breath, preferring death to capture. The honor code of their warrior culture was well documented in Terran military briefings, which is why what happened next shocked Eva to her core. The Cthar warrior, with visible effort and pain, rolled onto his knees. He dropped his remaining weapon and, looking directly into Eva's eyes, lowered his head in submission. "Don't kill me, human," he said in heavily accented but understandable Terran standard. "I'll warm your bed." Eva's finger froze on the trigger. The Cthar's words, the meaning behind them, made no sense according to everything she knew about their culture. Footsteps crashed through the undergrowth as her squad arrived, weapons trained on a kneeling alien. "Captain," Thorne asked, his voice tight with confusion and disgust. "Orders." Eva stared at the wounded Cthar, her mind racing. Protocol was clear: no prisoners on deep recon missions. The Cthar were too dangerous to transport, too valuable for their intelligence to leave behind, and the Shadow Walkers lacked the resources to guard captives. It was always cleaner, simpler to eliminate all hostiles. And yet, secure him, Eva found herself saying. Patch his wounds, enough to keep him alive for questioning. "We're taking him back to forward base." "Captain," Thorne's voice held a note of insubordination. "Standing orders are." "I know our orders, Lieutenant." Eva cut him off coldly. "This one might have valuable intelligence about Cthar movements in this sector. Command will want to interrogate him." It was a flimsy justification, and they both knew it. The wounded Cthar watched the exchange with intelligent eyes that missed nothing. "You heard the captain." Sergeant Kira Rodriguez stepped forward, always the loyal second. "Secure the prisoner for transport." As her squad reluctantly followed orders, Eva caught the Cthar's gaze again. Something passed between them, an understanding, perhaps, that they had both just stepped onto a path neither fully comprehended. The alien's strange plea echoed in her mind. "I'll warm your bed." What could that possibly mean coming from a race that, by all accounts, viewed humans as nothing more than invaders to be exterminated? Eva would soon find out. The Terran forward base was little more than a collection of prefabricated structures nestled within a small clearing, protected by energy shields and camouflage technology. The Shadow Walkers returned after dark, their prisoner bound and hooded for the final approach to maintain operational security. News of the captured Cthar spread quickly through the base, drawing curious and hostile stares as Eva's team escorted him to the detention area, a reinforced container modified for holding potentially dangerous subjects. Medical Officer Sabine Lin examined the prisoner's wounds with professional detachment, administering basic treatment, while Security Officer Marcus Cole fitted him with restraints designed specifically for Cthar physiology. He should survive, Dr. Lin informed Eva after the examination. 3 plasma wounds, multiple lacerations, and 2 broken ribs. Their healing rate is approximately twice that of humans, so he'll recover quickly if infection doesn't set in. "Keep him sedated," Eva instructed. Actually, Lin hesitated. "Our sedatives don't work well on Cthar metabolism. We can keep him restrained, but he'll be conscious." Eva nodded. "Post 2 guards at all times. I'll begin interrogation once he's stable." "Captain," Cole interjected, "Command will want to know about this. Taking prisoners isn't standard protocol for Shadow Walkers." "I'll file the report," Eva replied curtly. "This is my responsibility." Later, alone in her quarters, Eva recorded her official mission summary, carefully constructing a justification for capturing rather than eliminating the Cathar warrior. She emphasized potential intelligence value and downplayed the unusual circumstances of his surrender. When finished, she leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples against the headache building behind her eyes. Why had she spared him? The question had been gnawing at her since the moment she gave the order. Was it curiosity about his strange plea? Or something deeper? Perhaps a growing weariness with the killing that had defined her life for the past 5 years? Eva had no answers, only the certainty that her decision had started something she couldn't predict or control. 3 days later, when the Cathar was deemed stable enough for questioning, Eva entered the detention cell alone against thorns. Vocal objections. The warrior sat upright on a simple cot, his powerful frame making the human-sized furniture appear small. His wounds had been treated and bandaged, but restraints secured his wrists and ankles. He watched Eva enter with those unsettling amber eyes, tracking her movements with predatory attention. "I am Captain Eva Rostova, commanding officer of the Shadow Walkers unit," she began formally. "You're being held as a prisoner of war under Terran Military Coalition authority. Identify yourself." The Cathar studied her for a long moment before responding. "I am Rorik, hunt leader of Windcliff clan, third Fong of Matriarch Solara." His voice was deeper than Eva remembered, his Terran standard heavily accented, but clear enough. "Why did you surrender?" Eva asked, coming directly to the point. Cathar warriors are known to fight to the death. Rorik's facial expression shifted in a way Eva couldn't quite interpret. Cathar expressions didn't map perfectly to human ones. "A made offer. Traditional offer. You accepted by sparing life." "What exactly was your offer?" Eva pressed. "What did you mean by warming my bed?" "Old custom. Rarely used now." Rorik seemed to choose his words carefully. When warrior faces superior opponent who has proven greatest strength, can offer personal service instead of death. Service to learn, to understand strength. Eventually, perhaps to challenge again, or... He paused, seeming to search for the right words, to form new bond. Eva frowned. "You're saying this is some kind of apprenticeship? Or servitude? More complex. Bound by honor. I serve, protect, learn from you. You protect my life, teach strength." Rorik's gaze was unwavering. Ancient tradition from time of clans' war. Way to end bloodshed, gain knowledge between enemies. "And the bed-warming part?" Eva asked skeptically. Something that might have been amusement flickered across Rorik's features. Translation, not perfect. Means close protection. Sleep near, guard against night dangers. Human phrase would be bodyguard, but more personal. Eva wasn't entirely convinced. Everything in her Terran military training told her this could be a deception, a ploy to gain her trust or to position himself for escape or sabotage. Why would you invoke this tradition with a human? We're your enemies. You defeated me fairly. Showed skill, control. Did not kill when could. Rorik's expression grew serious. Also needed to survive. Not all Cathar follow old ways now. My information dangerous to some. Needed protection, new alliance. What information? Eva leaned forward, interest peaked. Rorik's eyes narrowed. Shadow clause. Breakaway faction. Not follow traditional Cathar honor code. Make alliance with some humans. Plan something. Dangerous. For both our peoples. Eva processed this. Intelligence reports had mentioned increasing factionalism among Cathar tribes. But this was the first she'd heard of a group called Shadow Claws or any suggestion of them working with humans. "That's a convenient story," she said coolly. "Why should I believe you?" "Because already happening," Rorik replied with equal coolness. Shadow Claws attack Cathar who seek peace talks. Attack human settlements, but make look like traditional Cathar. Create more hate, more war. Shadow Claws want war to continue. Why? Power. Resources. Rorik shifted, the restraints clinking softly. And something else. Something they search for in deep jungle. Ancient power. Eva had been in enough interrogations to recognize when someone was telling partial truths mixed with possible deceptions. Rorik seemed sincere, but that meant little. The Cthar were known to be culturally sophisticated despite Terran propaganda, portraying them as savage. I'll need more than vague warnings, she said finally. Specific intelligence. Names, locations, plans. We'll provide. As earned trust. Rorik leaned forward slightly. Have honor tradition by sparing me. We'll honor my part. But not fool. No, you keep as prisoner now. Accept this for time being. Their conversation was interrupted by the base alarm suddenly blaring. Eva's comm unit crackled to life with Sergeant Rodriguez's tense voice. Captain, we're under attack. Multiple hostiles breaching the eastern perimeter. Unusual tactics, not standard Cthar approach. Eva rose immediately. Secure the prisoner. I'm on my way. Rorik's voice stopped her at the door. Shadow claws. They come for me. Or for you. Their weapons different. Avoid purple light bursts. Deadly toxin, no antidote. Eva hesitated, studying the bound Cthar. If this is some trick. No trick, Rorik cut in sharply. If shadow claws capture me, slow death. If capture you, same. Let me help fight. We'll prove words true. It was an insane suggestion, releasing an enemy combatant during an attack. Yet Eva found herself considering it. If Rorik was telling the truth about these shadow claws. Captain, we're taking heavy casualties. Rodriguez's voice crackled with urgency and the sound of weapons fire. Eva made her decision. I'm bringing the prisoner. He has tactical information about the attackers. She approached Rorik, drawing her sidearm. I'm going to partially release your restraints. You'll remain by my side at all times. One suspicious move, and I put a plasma bolt through your head. Clear. Clear, Rorik agreed, his amber eyes reflecting something like respect. Eva quickly adjusted his restraints, allowing limited movement while keeping his wrists bound together. It was a massive risk, but her instincts, the same instincts that had kept her alive through countless missions, told her it was the right call. Together, they rushed toward the sound of battle. The scene that greeted them at the eastern perimeter was chaotic. Shadow walkers and base security personnel exchanged fire with Cthar attackers who moved with unusual synchronization. Eva immediately noticed the difference in their appearance. These Cthar wore black armor with purple accents, their tribal markings obscured by faceplates with glowing purple visors. Shadow claws. Rorik confirmed grimly beside her. See weapons? Toxin projectors. One hit is death. Eva observed the purple energy bursts he'd warned about. Several Terran soldiers already lay convulsing on the ground where they'd been hit, their skin turning a horrifying gray-black color. Rodriguez, Eva called, spotting her sergeant taking cover behind an overturned supply crate. Status. They breached the outer sensors without triggering alarms, Rodriguez reported as Eva and Rorik took cover beside her. Her eyes widened at the sight of the partially unrestrained Cthar, but to her credit, she didn't question her captain's decision. At least 15 hostiles. They're trying to circle around to the command center. They're hunting, Rorik said, looking for something or someone. Captain, Lieutenant Thorne's voice came over the comm. What the hell is the prisoner doing out of containment? He's providing tactical intelligence, Eva replied tersely. These aren't regular Cthar forces. Like hell they aren't, Thorne snarled. This is obviously a rescue operation for their comrade, and you just handed him back to them. An explosion rocked the eastern barrier, sending debris flying. Through the newly created breach, more shadow claws poured in. Fall back to secondary positions, Eva ordered into her comm. Use structure pillars for cover. Their toxin weapons can't penetrate dense materials. As her team executed the ordered retreat, maintaining disciplined covering fire, Eva noticed Rorik studying the attackers with intense focus. What are you seeing? She asked. Formation tells attack purpose, he replied, ducking as purple energy sizzled overhead. Not rescue mission. Search pattern. Looking for something in base. A Shadow Claw warrior suddenly vaulted over their cover position, weapon aimed directly at Eva. Before she could react, Rorik, despite his bound wrists, launched himself at the attacker. They tumbled in a blur of snarls and claws, Rorik somehow managing to twist the attacker's weapon away before snapping the warrior's neck with a brutal efficiency that reminded Eva exactly what kind of predator her prisoner truly was. Rorik turned back to Eva. The dead shadow claw at his feet. Could have escaped. Did not. He held her gaze meaningfully. Before Eva could respond, Lieutenant Thorne appeared, his weapon trained on Rorik. "Step away from the captain, alien," he ordered. "Lieutenant, stand down," Eva snapped. "He just saved my life." "It's a trick," Thorne insisted, his finger tightening on the trigger. "They're all working together." A sudden burst of purple energy struck Thorne from behind. He collapsed, his body already beginning to discolor as the toxin spread. "Sniper!" Rodriguez shouted, pulling Eva down as more fire rained on their position. Rorik dropped to a crouch beside them. "Need to move." They converge on this position. Eva made another split-second decision. "Rodriguez, give me the key to his restraints." The sergeant hesitated only briefly before handing over a small electronic key. Eva quickly released Rorik's bonds completely. "You're free," she told him. "You can run now if that's what you want." Rorik rubbed his wrists, his amber eyes holding hers. "Made offer. Stand by it." He picked up the fallen Shadow Claw's weapon. "We'll help fight. Then you decide if believe me." The battle raged for another 20 minutes. Working together, Human and Cthar, they managed to push back the Shadow Claws, who eventually retreated into the jungle. When the last attacker disappeared into the dense foliage, Eva surveyed the damage. 6 Terrans dead, including Lieutenant Thorne, and 12 wounded. 3 Shadow Claw bodies remained within the base perimeter. "Sweep and secure." Eva ordered her remaining team. "Check every corner of the base. I want to know what they were after." As the Shadow Walkers dispersed to carry out her orders, Eva turned to Rorik, who stood nearby, still holding the captured Shadow Claw weapon. He had fought alongside her team with surprising coordination, even saving Sergeant Rodriguez from an attacker at one point. "You could have escaped during the chaos," Eva noted. "Why didn't you?" "Told truth before." Rorik replied simply. "Shadow Claw's dangerous to my people too. Need alliance to stop them." Eva studied him thoughtfully. "If I believe even half of what you've said, it means there's a third player in this war. These Shadow Claws and whoever they're working with." "Yes," Rorik confirmed. "Someone wants war to continue. Uses Shadow Claws as tools." Their conversation was interrupted when Rodriguez returned, her expression grim. "Captain, you need to see this." She led them to the command center, where the communications array had been partially dismantled. Several components were missing, and the main console displayed evidence of data extraction. "They downloaded our communication logs and fleet movements," the base's tech specialist reported. "And they took the quantum encryption module." Eva frowned. "That's high-level Terran technology. What would Cthar warriors want with encryption modules?" "Not for Cthar use," Rorik said, examining the damaged console. "For human ally." "Captain," Rodriguez interjected, "we found this on one of the dead attackers." She handed Eva a small data storage device. "It's Terran manufacture, military grade." Eva's suspicions crystallized into something darker. "Someone from our side is working with these Shadow Claws." "Yes," Rorik affirmed. "Tell you before. Shadow Claws have human allies. High position, maybe." Eva pocketed the data device. "We need to analyze this, but carefully. If there's a traitor in the Terran command structure." "Need to leave this place," Rorik interrupted urgently. "Shadow Claws will return with greater numbers. Next time, not survive." "We can't just abandon a forward base," Rodriguez protested. "May not have choice," Eva replied, making calculations in her head. "Our communications are compromised. We've lost a third of our effective fighting force, and we don't know who we can trust at command." She turned to Rodriguez. "Quietly prepare the team for potential evacuation. Essential equipment and supplies only. We may need to move quickly." As Rodriguez departed to carry out her orders, Eva found herself alone with Rorik again, the weight of command and the implications of what they'd discovered pressing down on her. "If what you're saying is true," she said slowly, "then both our peoples are being manipulated into continuing this war." "But why? What's the endgame?" "Ancient technology," Rorik replied. "Xylo's not always jungle world. Once had advanced civilization. Left behind powerful artifacts, energy sources. Some Cthar legends speak of weapons that could destroy stars. Eva had heard rumors of archaeological finds on Xylos, remnants of a civilization far more advanced than either humans or Cthar. Terran corporations had been particularly interested in these discoveries, which had partly motivated the initial colonization efforts that sparked the conflict with the native Cthar. You think someone's found one of these artifacts? Or is close to finding one? Yes, Rorik nodded gravely. Shadow claws search deep jungle areas. Ancient ruins. Take Cthar scholars. Torture for information. Eva considered this. If true, it represented a threat far greater than the current territorial war. A star-killing weapon in the hands of a rogue faction, human or Cthar, could reshape the power balance of the entire sector. We need proof, she decided. Something concrete to take to both our leaders. Have starting point, Rorik said. Data from dead Shadow Claw may contain coordinates, communications. And we need to identify the human collaborator, Eva added. Someone with enough authority to access military encryption technology and coordinate with these Shadow Claws. A sudden commotion outside drew their attention. Eva moved to the window to see Rodriguez running toward the command center, her expression urgent. Captain, Rodriguez burst through the door. Urgent transmission from Terran High Command. There. She hesitated, glancing at Rorik. Speak freely, Sergeant, Eva ordered. They're ordering us to eliminate all personnel who had contact with the Cthar prisoner and then execute him immediately. The orders cite contamination protocol, but it doesn't make sense. They're specifically naming you, me, and anyone who saw the prisoner unrestrained. Eva felt a cold certainty settle in her stomach. Who issued the order? General Alvarez. It's authenticated with his personal codes. Rorik growled low in his throat. You're General Alvarez, Shadow Claw's human ally. Eva's mind raced through the implications. General Diego. Alvarez was the operational commander for all Terran forces in the Xylos theater. If he was compromised or corrupt, it explained how the Shadow Claws had acquired Terran technology and tactical information. How much time do we have before the base is expected to acknowledge these orders? Eva asked. Less than an hour, Rodriguez replied. And, Captain, there's more. The transmission included authorization for Lieutenant Thorne to assume command if you show signs of alien influence. They didn't know he's already dead. They planned this, Eva realized. The attack was a setup, designed to either kill us or provide a pretext for these orders. Eva made her decision. Sergeant, implement evacuation protocol immediately. Essential personnel and equipment only. Tell no one our destination or purpose, just that we've received intelligence about another imminent attack. Where are we going, Captain? Rodriguez asked. Eva turned to Rorik. We need allies. Can your clan help us? Windcliff clan territory, 3 days' journey from here, Rorik replied. Difficult terrain, many dangers. But if reach them, Matriarch Solara will listen, especially if bring proof of Shadow Claw's betrayal. Then that's our destination, Eva decided. Rodriguez, select only the most trusted members of our unit. No more than 8 total. Anyone with close ties to high command or who's shown excessive hostility toward Cthar stays behind with a plausible cover story. Yes, Captain, Rodriguez hesitated. This is mutiny, you know. No, Eva countered firmly. This is protecting our people, all our people, from a hidden threat. Someone is manipulating both sides of this war for their own purpose, and they're willing to kill anyone who discovers the truth. As Rodriguez left to prepare for evacuation, Eva turned back to Rorik. She studied the Cthar warrior who had, in the span of a few days, transformed from enemy to potential ally. If you're playing me, she said quietly, this is an elaborate game. I'm betting my career and possibly my life on your information. Rorik held her gaze. Not game. Survival. For both our peoples. He placed a clawed hand over his chest in what she recognized as a Cthar gesture of solemn oath. By my honor and the blood of my ancestors, speak truth to you, Eva Rostova. It was the first time he had used her name rather than her rank. Something shifted between them, a tentative trust forming in the crucible of shared danger. Then let's move, Eva said. We have a jungle to cross and a conspiracy to uncover. They departed the forward base 2 hours later. A small team consisting of Eva, Rorik, Sergeant Rodriguez, and 5 other shadow walkers Eva trusted implicitly. They traveled light but well armed, carrying only essential supplies, weapons, and the data they'd recovered from the dead Shadow Claw. Their absence wouldn't be noticed immediately. Eva had left behind a fabricated mission log indicating they were conducting recon in the northwest sector, the opposite direction from where they were actually heading. It wouldn't fool High Command for long, but it might buy them the time they needed. The journey through the Xylos jungle was arduous. Though Eva and her team were trained for forest operations, this was different. They were moving deeper into Cathar territory than any Terran patrol normally ventured, through parts of the jungle that remained largely unmapped. Rorik proved invaluable. He knew paths invisible to human eyes, could identify which plants were poisonous and which provided water or nutrients, and sensed potential dangers long before they became apparent to the others. Gradually, even the most skeptical of Eva's team began to accept his presence, if not yet fully trust him. On the second night, as they made camp in a small cave hidden behind a waterfall, Eva found a moment to speak privately with Rorik. They sat at the cave entrance, watching the moonlight create prismatic effects in the falling water while the others slept deeper inside. "Your people," Eva began hesitantly, "the Windcliff clan. What will they think of you bringing humans to them?" Rorik considered this, his profile sharp against the dim light. "Will be difficult. Many distrust humans, with reason. Terran mining operations destroyed sacred lands. But Matriarch Solara is wise. Sees bigger picture. And what about you?" Eva asked. "You've lost comrades to humans, to people like me. Yet here you are, guiding us to your home." Rorik turned to face her fully. War changes perspective. Saw too many die, Cathar and human both. Started questioning purpose, honor in endless killing. He gestured to the jungle beyond the waterfall. Xylo's big enough for both peoples if find way to coexist. His candor surprised Eva. It mirrored her own unspoken thoughts, doubts that had been growing with each mission, each kill. "Before I found you in the jungle," she admitted, "I was beginning to feel hollow, like this war was consuming something essential inside me. Soul sickness," Rorik nodded. Cathar warriors know this condition. When kill no longer serves protection of clan, but becomes only habit, purpose fades. Spirit weakens. "Soul sickness," Eva repeated, finding the term oddly fitting. "Is that why you made your offer to me? Because you felt this too?" "Partly," Rorik acknowledged. "Also survival instinct. But saw something in your eyes when could have killed me. Hesitation. Questioning. Recognized kindred spirit, perhaps." Eva was struck by how articulate he had become in Terran Standard over just a few days. Cathar were known to be quick language learners, but Rorik seemed exceptionally intelligent. "Your offer," she circled back to the question that had been nagging at her. "To warm my bed. You said it was about protection, being a bodyguard. But there's more to it, isn't there? In your culture?" Rorik's ear flicked in what Eva had learned was a gesture of slight discomfort or embarrassment. "Traditional meaning complex," he admitted. "In ancient times, when warrior pledged to warm bed of victor, became companion. Protector, yes, but also advisor, confidant. Sometimes, eventually mate." Eva raised an eyebrow. "Mate? As in, physical joining optional part of tradition," Rorik clarified, his ear flicking again. "Not requirement. Main purpose is creating bond between former enemies, learning from each other's strength." Despite the gravity of their situation, Eva found herself fighting a smile. "So, you proposed an ancient Cathar tradition that could potentially include a sexual relationship to an enemy soldier who had you at gunpoint." "Was desperate situation," Rorik replied, a rumbling sound in his chest that Eva recognized as the Cathar equivalent of dry humor. "Also, did not expect human to know full cultural implications." "I didn't," Eva admitted, then grew serious again. "But now that we're being honest, you never expected me to accept your offer, did you?" It was a delaying tactic. "Initially, yes," Rorik acknowledged without shame. "Needed time. Hoped strange offer would create confusion, hesitation. Did not expect you to actually spare life. But since then, Eva pressed. You've had multiple chances to escape or kill us. Why stay true to an offer that was just a deception? Rorik's expression grew solemn, because saw opportunity for something more important than personal freedom or revenge. Chance to end larger conflict. And he paused, seeming to choose his words carefully, because found your strength worthy of respect. Offer became real, even if began as tactic. Eva absorbed this, unsure how to respond. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft alert from her wrist device. Time to change guard shifts. You should rest, Rorik said, rising smoothly to his feet. We'll take next watch. Wake me at first light, Eva instructed, standing as well. We've got a long day ahead tomorrow. As she moved toward the sleeping area, Rorik's voice stopped her. Eva Rostova, he said quietly, using her full name in the formal Kthar manner. Thank you for listening to truth. Few humans would. Eva nodded, acknowledging both his thanks and the unlikely alliance they had formed. Few Kthar would trust a human with their clan's safety either. I guess we're both breaking new ground. The third day of their journey brought them to the borders of Windcliff clan territory, marked by subtle signs that only Rorik could identify. Patterns carved into certain trees, arrangements of stones that appeared natural but weren't. The jungle had grown denser, the terrain more vertical as they approached the actual cliff formations that gave the clan its name. We are watched, Rorik informed the group as they paused beside a small stream. Clan scouts track us since dawn. Eva nodded, unsurprised. Should we expect a welcome party? Soon, Rorik confirmed. He raised his voice slightly and spoke several phrases in the Kthar language, a complex series of growls, clicks, and purring sound impossible for human vocal cords to replicate. The jungle remained silent for several moments. Then, with barely a rustle of leaves, 5 Kthar warriors materialized from the surrounding vegetation. They were smaller than Rorik, but no less lethal-looking, their bodies adorned with distinctive blue-gray markings that matched the cliff stones of their territory. Each carried traditional Kthar weapons, curved blades and compact, but deadly-looking energy bows. Their leader, a female with striking silver streaks in her fur, stepped forward. She addressed Rorik in their native tongue, her voice harsh and her posture openly hostile. Rorik responded calmly, gesturing toward Eva and her team. The female snarled something that made Rorik's ears flatten against his skull, and what Eva had learned was a sign of anger or offense. Problem? Eva asked quietly. Expected, Rorik replied without taking his eyes off the Kthar patrol leader. Razka questions my honor for bringing humans to clan territory. Says she'd kill you all and seek forgiveness from Matriarch. Tell her we come seeking alliance against a common enemy, Eva suggested. The Shadow Claws threaten both our peoples. Rorik translated. The mention of Shadow Claws caused a visible reaction among the patrol. Subtle shifts in posture, exchanged glances. The leader, Razka, barked what sounded like a question. She asked what humans know of Shadow Claws. Rorik translated. Says 3 Windcliff hunters found dead last moon cycle, killed by Shadow Claw methods. Eva decided on transparency. Tell her we have evidence that Shadow Claws are working with a corrupt human general. They've attacked both Kthar and human forces to prolong the war. We need to speak with your matriarch. After Rorik translated, a tense silence fell. Razka studied Eva with predatory intensity before responding. She will escort us to Windcliff, Rorik said, but we must be blindfolded for approach. This is non-negotiable. Eva glanced at her team. Rodriguez and the others looked understandably apprehensive, but they would follow her lead. Agreed, Eva said, but we keep our weapons. After Rorik relayed this condition, Razka gave a curt nod. The Kthar patrol produced strips of woven fiber, which were tied securely over the human's eyes. Eva felt a moment of vulnerability as darkness enveloped her vision, but she sensed Rorik's presence nearby, a fact that was strangely reassuring. They walked for what felt like hours, guided by gentle pressure on their arms or verbal instructions translated by Rorik. Eva tracked their movements as best she could, ascending steep slopes, crossing what felt like narrow stone bridges, passing through areas where the air grew cool and echoed like caves. The jungle sounds gradually faded, replaced by the whistling of wind and distant calls that might have been Cthar communications. Finally, they stopped. The blindfolds were removed, and Eva blinked as her eyes adjusted to the light. They stood on a massive ledge carved into the face of a towering cliff. Above and around them, the Windcliff settlement spread across multiple natural and artificial terraces connected by bridges and staircases. Dwellings were built directly into the rock or constructed of materials that blended seamlessly with the cliff. Cthar moved efficiently throughout the vertical community, many stopping to stare at the unprecedented sight of humans in their midst. "Welcome to Windcliff," Rorik said quietly. "Home." Eva was struck by the beauty and functionality of the settlement. Terran intelligence had generic information about Cthar cliff communities, but seeing one firsthand revealed how limited that knowledge was. This wasn't the primitive tribal village portrayed in military briefings. It was a sophisticated society adapted perfectly to its environment. Razka led them up a spiraling staircase to a large terrace dominated by an open-sided structure. Inside, seated on a simple but elegant stone chair, waited an imposing female Cthar. Even without Rorik's respectful posture, Eva would have recognized authority in her bearing. The matriarch's fur had the silver gray of age, but her amber eyes were sharp and missing nothing. Various ornaments and tokens hung from her garments, each presumably signifying some accomplishment or status. Surrounding her were other Cthar of varying ages, what Eva assumed was the clan's leadership council. Rorik stepped forward and performed a complex series of gestures that Eva recognized as a formal Cthar greeting. He spoke at length in their language, occasionally indicating Eva and her team. The assembled Cthar listened without interruption, though their expressions and ear positions suggested a range of reactions from skepticism to alarm. When Rorik finished, the matriarch spoke, her voice strong despite her apparent age. "She welcomes you to Windcliff territory." Rorik translated for Eva, says it has been many generations since humans stood here as anything but enemies. She wishes to hear your words directly. Eva stepped forward, maintaining a respectful distance. "Matriarch Solera, I am Captain Eva Rostova of the Terran Military Coalition. I thank you for allowing us into your home. I come seeking truth and alliance against those who would harm both our peoples." After Rorik translated, the matriarch responded with what sounded like a question. She asked why she should trust words of human commander whose forces have killed many Cthar. Rorik relayed, "Eva chose honesty, because I am no longer certain who the real enemy is. My own command structure has been compromised. They ordered my execution when I discovered evidence linking a human general to the Shadow Claws. I believe we are all being manipulated into continuing this war, while something far more dangerous threatens both humans and Cthar." When this was translated, murmurs spread through the gathered council. The matriarch silenced them with a gesture and spoke again. "Matriarch says Shadow Claws have become a greater problem in recent seasons." Rorik translated. "Traditional Cthar honor codes abandoned. Young warriors seduced by promises of power. 3 hunting parties from Windcliff disappeared in territories where Shadow Claws reported." Eva nodded. "We believe they're searching for something, ancient technology from the civilization that once inhabited Xylos. Possibly weapons of immense power." The matriarch's ears pricked forward, a sign of intense interest or concern. She spoke rapidly to one of her advisors, who left quickly. "She has summoned clan scholar," Rorik explained, "expert in ancient histories." While they waited, Eva signaled Rodriguez to bring forward the data device they'd recovered from the dead Shadow Claw. "We have information extracted from Shadow Claw communications. It contains coordinates, transmissions, evidence of their collaboration with humans. Our technology can display it if you have power sources we can use." After translation and a brief discussion, the matriarch nodded. A younger Cthar brought forward what appeared to be a portable energy generator, compatible with Terran devices, suggesting either trade or scavenging. Rodriguez set up a small holographic projector connected to the data device. Soon, maps, coordinates, and communications logs hovered in the air before the assembled Kthar. Eva explained each element, with Rorik translating. These transmissions, Eva highlighted a series of encrypted communications, are between Shadowclaw leaders and General Alvarez of Terran High Command. They reference the artifact and ancient power cores multiple times. These coordinates mark locations of ruins or excavation sites in the deep jungle. The Kthar scholar arrived, an elderly male with distinctive facial markings and robes adorned with symbols Eva didn't recognize. After examining the projected information, he engaged in an intense discussion with the matriarch. Rorik listened closely before turning to Eva. Scholar says coordinates match locations of what Kthar called temples of the ancients, ruins predating both our peoples. Sacred sites, forbidden to enter by traditional law because of dangers. Ancient texts warn of powerful technologies that brought destruction to original civilization. The scholar spoke directly to the gathered council, his voice rising and falling dramatically as he related what seemed to be a historical account or legend. He speaks of time of great burning. Rorik translated quietly for Eva, when stars fell from sky and world changed. Says ancients created weapon that could unmake reality but lost control. Kthar ancestors witnessed destruction, vowed to protect remaining temples from those who would repeat mistake. The implications were chilling. If these ancient ruins contained technology capable of stellar manipulation or reality alteration, and if someone like General Alvarez gained control of it, ask them if they know which site the Shadowclaws have focused on most recently, Eva requested. After translation and consultation with the scholar, the matriarch pointed to one of the coordinates on the projected map, a location deep in the southwestern jungle region, marked by what appeared to be the largest concentration of ruins. Temple of World Heart, Rorik translated. Most sacred, most dangerous according to legends. Place where ancients stored their greatest creations. And their greatest weapons, Eva added grimly. She turned to face the matriarch directly. This is why we need alliance. Shadowclaws and their human collaborators seek power that threatens all life on Xylos, perhaps beyond. Together, we might stop them. Divided, we're distracted by a war that serves only their purpose. The matriarch listened to the translation, then stood slowly from her seat. She spoke at length, her voice carrying natural authority that needed no translation. When she finished, the assembled Kthar council members thumped their chests in what appeared to be agreement or affirmation. Matriarch Solara says Windcliff clan will join alliance against Shadowclaws. Rorik reported, a note of pride in his voice. We'll send messengers to other trustworthy clans, but says we must move quickly. Lunar alignment approaches when Temple of World Heart, most vulnerable to entry according to ancient texts. How long do we have? Eva asked. 3 days. Eva exchanged glances with Rodriguez and her team. It wasn't much time to prepare for what would undoubtedly be a dangerous mission against well-armed opponents. Tell the matriarch we are grateful for her wisdom and support, Eva said formally. We will share all our resources and knowledge to ensure success. After Rorik translated, the matriarch approached Eva directly. In a gesture that seemed significant to the watching Kthar, she extended her hand, palm facing upward toward the human captain. Rorik spoke quietly. Ritual gesture of alliance. Place your hand over hers, palm down. Eva did as instructed, placing her smaller human hand over the matriarch's clawed one. The Kthar leader spoke ritual words, which Rorik translated. Blood and breath, path and purpose, now bound together against greater darkness. The formal alliance established, the council dispersed to begin preparations. The matriarch assigned quarters for the humans, a series of cave dwellings adapted for visitors, with surprisingly comfortable furnishings. As Eva's team settled in and began equipment checks, Rorik approached her privately. You have achieved what no human has before, he said. Alliance with Kthar clan. Matriarch impressed by your honor and directness. It's only a beginning, Eva replied. We still need to stop whatever's happening at this temple of World Heart. And even if we succeed, the war between our peoples continues unless we can expose General Alvarez and his conspirators to both sides. One step at a time, Rorik advised. Tonight, Council of War to plan approach to temple. Should rest before then. Eva nodded, suddenly aware of her exhaustion after days of tense jungle travel. Wake me when it's time. As Rorik turned to leave, Eva stopped him with a question that had been bothering her. Rorik, your offer to me in the jungle. Your matriarch didn't seem surprised by our alliance. Did she know about your tradition? Rorik's expression shifted in what Eva now recognized as the Kthar equivalent of smile. Matriarch Solara is many seasons wise, knows ancient ways, sees patterns others miss. Perhaps recognize between us what we only beginning to understand ourselves. Before Eva could ask what he meant, he slipped away, leaving her with questions that would have to wait for another time. The Council of War convened after nightfall in a circular chamber carved deep into the cliff. Maps of the jungle region surrounding the Temple of World Heart were displayed on stone tables. Some ancient Kthar designs, others clearly scavenged Terran tactical displays. Representatives from Windcliffe's warrior caste joined Eva's team around these maps, with the matriarch and her advisors overseeing. Shadow Claws have established perimeter around Temple. The Kthar war leader, a scarred male named Thrak, explained through Rorik's translation. Many warriors advanced weapons, some Terran technology visible in surveillance. Rodriguez pointed to several approaches on the map. Standard Terran doctrine would place heaviest defenses here and here, with sensor arrays covering these approaches. Thrak nodded with grudging respect for her tactical assessment. Agree. But Kthar no hidden path. Ancient pilgrimage route. Not on maps. Narrow, dangerous, but possible for small force to approach undetected. What about inside the temple? Eva asked. What should we expect? The scholar who had been present earlier consulted ancient texts, tanned hides covered with Kthar script, before responding. He says temple has 3 levels descending into earth, Rorik translated. Upper chambers contain tests of worthiness, deadly traps, guardian mechanisms. Lower chambers hold lesser technologies of ancients. Deepest level contains World Heart, the power source or weapon they seek. Any idea what this World Heart actually is? Eva pressed. Descriptions symbolic, unclear, Rorik replied after the scholar's explanation. Referred to as seed of creation and destruction, or eye that sees between worlds. Could be metaphor or actual technology beyond ancient Kthar understanding. Eva considered their options. How large a force can approach undetected via this pilgrimage route? 20 warriors maximum, Thrak answered. More would alert sentries. Then we assemble our strongest combined team, Eva decided. My squad plus your best warriors. We need to move fast, strike decisively, and secure whatever this World Heart is before they can activate or remove it. The matriarch spoke, her voice solemn. She says according to ancient warnings, World Heart cannot be removed from temple without catastrophic results, Rorik translated. If Shadow Claws attempt this, could trigger disaster like one that destroyed ancient civilization. Then our priority is clear, Eva stated. Neutralize the Shadow Claws and their human allies, secure the temple, and ensure whatever power exists there remains contained. The next hours were spent in detailed planning, combining Kthar knowledge of the terrain with Terran tactical expertise. Warriors were selected, weapons and equipment prepared. Eva was impressed by the sophisticated strategy proposed by Thrak, further evidence that Terran intelligence had underestimated Kthar military capabilities. When the council adjourned well past midnight, Eva found herself standing with Rorik on a small observation platform, overlooking the vast jungle canopy below. The 3 moons of Xylos cast an ethereal light over the landscape, turning the sea of trees into a silvery expanse that stretched to the horizon. Beautiful, isn't it? Eva said quietly. Hard to believe we've been fighting over this planet for 5 years. Beauty often contested most fiercely, Rorik replied. Kthar believes Xylos alive, not just plants and animals, but planet itself. Sacred trust to protect. While humans see resources, strategic position, new territory, Eva acknowledged with a hint of shame. Maybe both perspectives have value. They stood in companionable silence for a moment before Rorik spoke again. Tomorrow, dangerous mission. May not survive. Trying to boost morale, are you? Eva smiled slightly. Being realistic, Rorik countered. Should say things that need saying before battle. He turned to face her fully, his amber eyes reflecting the moonlight. When offered to warm your bed in jungle was desperate tactic. But now would make same offer from position of choice, not desperation. Eva felt her breath catch. Rorik, not expecting answer, he continued. Just truth spoken before possibly final battle. You earned respect, then trust, then. He seemed to search for the right word, something Kthar calls soul recognition. Rare, even among our own kind. Eva wasn't sure how to respond. The days since their first encounter in the jungle had transformed her perception of Rorik from enemy to ally, to something undefined but increasingly significant. Cultural and physiological differences aside, she couldn't deny the connection that had formed between them. In my culture, she said carefully, we have a saying, war makes strange bedfellows. It means conflict creates unlikely alliances. Apt phrase. Rorik acknowledged with that rumbling sound Eva had come to recognize as his version of laughter, though perhaps not intended literally as we discuss. Eva smiled, despite the gravity of their situation. Let's focus on surviving tomorrow. After that, she met his gaze directly. We can explore what this soul recognition means for a human and a Kthar. Rorik's expression brightened in the Kthar manner. Ears forward, posture relaxed. Good reason to ensure survival then. As dawn broke, the combined force of humans and Kthar departed Windcliff along secret paths known only to the clan's elite scouts. They moved swiftly through the jungle, Kthar and humans working with surprising harmony given their history of conflict. Eva and Thrak led jointly, with Rorik serving as cultural and linguistic bridge between the two groups. By midday, they had reached the outer perimeter of the territory surrounding the Temple of World Heart. Hidden among dense vegetation, they observed shadow claw patrols and defensive positions through high-powered optics. More guards than expected, Thrak noted grimly. And look, human equipment. Eva adjusted her binoculars to focus on what appeared to be a small landing pad where a Terran military transport shuttle was docked. Nearby, crates bearing Terran military coalition insignia were being unloaded by shadow claws under the supervision of human personnel in unmarked uniforms. General Alvarez must be accelerating the operation, Eva said. They're bringing in specialized equipment. Rodriguez, observing through her own optics, suddenly tensed. Captain, she whispered urgently. 3 o'clock. By the shuttle. Eva shifted her view and felt her blood run cold. Standing beside the shuttle, issuing orders to both shadow claws and humans, was General Diego Alvarez himself. The presence of such a high-ranking officer confirmed the operation's significance. This changes things, Eva murmured. We're not just dealing with rogue elements or proxies. Alvarez is personally overseeing this. Opportunity as well as complication, Rorik observed. Capture Alvarez, have proof of conspiracy for both sides. Eva nodded slowly. We need to adjust our plan. Thrak, how close can your pilgrimage route get us to that shuttle landing area? Within 200 strides, the Kthar war leader replied. But timing critical. Path exposed at final approach. Eva studied the patrol patterns, noting their frequency and coverage. We need a diversion. Something to draw attention away from the southeastern perimeter while our main force approaches via the pilgrimage route. They formulated a new plan. A small team of Kthar warriors would create a distraction at the northern perimeter, far from their actual infiltration point. Meanwhile, the main force would use the momentary chaos to approach the temple via the ancient path. As final preparations were made, Eva pulled Rorik aside. I need you with the main infiltration team. Your knowledge of both Kthar and human tactics is essential. Intended to be nowhere else, Rorik assured her. Sworn to warm your bed. Remember? Difficult to fulfill. If allow you to enter ancient death temple alone. Despite the tension of the moment, Eva found herself smiling at his gallows humor. Let's move out then. We have a planet to save and a war to end. The operation began at dusk. The Cathar diversionary team attacked the northern perimeter with spectacular ferocity, using traditional hunting calls and energy bows to create an impression of a much larger force. As predicted, Shadow Claw guards and human mercenaries redirected to meet the perceived threat. Eva led the main infiltration team along the narrow, treacherous pilgrimage path, a route so well concealed that even standing directly beside its entrance, it remained nearly invisible. They moved in silence, Cathar scouts detecting and disabling spar sensor arrays with practiced efficiency. The path emerged exactly where Thrak had indicated, a small clearing less than 200 meters from the temple's main entrance and with clear line of sight to the shuttle landing area. From their concealed position, Eva observed General Alvarez directing operations from a temporary command post erected near the temple entrance. Remember, Eva whispered to the assembled strike team, primary objectives are to secure the World Heart, prevent its removal or activation, and if possible, capture General Alvarez for evidence. We move in 3 teams. Team 1 secures the perimeter and shuttle. Team 2 with me enters the temple. Team 3 creates exit route and manages communications. On our signal, they moved. The Cathar warriors flowed from cover with predatory grace, while Eva's shadow walkers advanced with disciplined precision. They had closed half the distance to the temple before alarms finally sounded. Cover blown. Rodriguez called. Moving to Phase 2. The operation shifted from stealth to direct assault. Cathar warriors engaged Shadow Claw guards in fierce combat. Claw against claw, tribal rivalries adding intensity to each encounter. Eva's team provided covering fire, their Terran weapons cutting down human mercenaries who seemed shocked to be facing fellow humans. Eva spotted General Alvarez shouting orders, then retreating toward the temple entrance with a protective detail. Rorik, Rodriguez, with me, she commanded. We follow Alvarez. The rest of you secure this area. The 3 of them fought their way toward the temple, dodging energy bursts and returning fire with practiced efficiency. A Shadow Claw warrior leaped into their path, but Rorik met him with equal ferocity, their bodies becoming a blur of snarls and slashing claws before Rorik emerged victorious. They reached the massive stone doorway of the temple just as Alvarez and his guards disappeared inside. Ancient glyphs covered the weathered surface, glowing with a faint blue light that seemed to pulse in rhythm. Temple defenses activating, Rorik warned. Ancient texts say only worthy may enter safely. Define worthy, Rodriguez asked tensely. Stories unclear, Rorik admitted. Some say pure of heart, others say strong of will, or could simply mean knowing correct rituals. We don't have time for rituals, Eva decided, stepping toward the entrance. Alvarez is inside, heading for the World Heart. We follow. As they crossed the threshold, the blue glyphs flared brightly, then dimmed. The air shifted, charged with an energy Eva couldn't identify, but could definitely feel, a vibration that seemed to pass through her body rather than around it. The interior was vast and dimly lit by the same blue energy that had illuminated the entrance glyphs. Massive stone columns supported a ceiling lost in shadows. The architecture was unlike anything Eva had seen on Xylos or any other world. Proportions that seemed subtly wrong, angles that appeared to shift when viewed from different perspectives. This way, Rorik indicated a descending passage where recent footprints were visible in the ancient dust. They head to lower levels. They followed cautiously, weapons ready. The passage spiraled downward, opening occasionally into chambers filled with artifacts of the ancient civilization, devices and structures whose purpose Eva couldn't begin to guess. In several rooms, they found bodies, Shadow Claws who had apparently triggered defensive mechanisms. Their corpses were contorted in strange positions, some partially embedded in walls or floors, as though reality itself had shifted around them. Temple defenses, Rorik explained grimly. Ancients designed protections that bend space itself. How did Alvarez's team make it through? Rodriguez wondered. Look, Eva pointed to small devices attached to the walls at intervals. Terran technology. They're mapping safe paths through the defensive fields. Probably been studying this place for months. They proceeded more carefully, following the trail of Terran markers. The second level of the temple contained more elaborate chambers, some resembling laboratories, others appearing to be control rooms. For incomprehensible machinery, in one vast hall, a massive three-dimensional star map hovered in the air, depicting star systems and celestial bodies in configurations Eva didn't recognize. Not current stars, Rorik observed. Perhaps how sky appeared when ancients lived, or how it will appear in the future, Eva suggested, a chill running through her at the implication of technology that could predict or manipulate cosmic events. They encountered sporadic resistance, mercenaries left behind to slow pursuit, but dealt with them efficiently. Evidence of Alvarez's passage grew fresher as they descended to the third and deepest level. Here, the temple's atmosphere changed noticeably. The air became charged with energy that made hair stand on end and caused the Kthar's fur to ripple with static. The blue illumination pulsed more rapidly, almost like a heartbeat. They entered a vast circular chamber dominated by a central platform. Upon this platform, surrounded by concentric rings of unknown material that rotated independently despite having no visible mechanism, hovered a crystalline structure approximately 1 meter in diameter. It glowed with shifting colors that seemed to include hues Eva had never seen before, colors that shouldn't exist in normal space. The world heart, Rorik breathed, his voice filled with awe and trepidation. Standing before the platform was General Alvarez with 4 remaining guards and what appeared to be a scientist or technician in a specialized protective suit. They had erected Terran equipment around the platform, scanning devices, energy field generators, and what looked disturbingly like a containment vessel large enough to hold the world heart. They're preparing to remove it, Eva whispered, despite the warnings. Without hesitation, Eva stepped forward into the chamber. General Alvarez, she called out, her weapon raised. Step away from the artifact. Alvarez turned, his expression registering shock then contempt upon seeing Eva. Captain Rostova, I should have known my cleanup order wouldn't be sufficient for the infamous Shadow Walkers. His gaze shifted to Rorik and his lip curled. And I see you found new friends. How touching. We know about your alliance with the Shadow Claws, Eva stated. We have proof of your betrayal, communications, coordinates, evidence of your conspiracy. It's over. Alvarez laughed. Betrayal? I'm securing humanity's future, Captain. This device, he gestured to the world heart, is the key to unimaginable power. The civilization that created it could reshape reality itself. With it, the Terran Coalition won't just win this petty war, we'll dominate this entire sector of space for generations. Ancient warnings clear, Rorik interjected, stepping forward beside Eva. World Heart cannot be removed from Temple, cannot be controlled, destroyed its creators when they tried. Primitive superstitions, Alvarez dismissed. Our scientists have spent months decoding the Ancients' technology. We know how to harness it safely, like you knew how to control the Shadow Claws. Eva challenged. How many of your own people have you sacrificed to maintain this deception, General? How many Terran soldiers died because you prolonged a war that could have ended years ago? A flicker of something, perhaps doubt, perhaps regret, crossed Alvarez's face before his expression hardened again. Necessary sacrifices for a greater purpose. History will vindicate me. History records only survivors, Rorik growled. Your actions threaten all life on Xylos, Kthar, and human alike. The technician interrupted, calling urgently to Alvarez. General, the containment field is ready. We need to move quickly. The energy signatures are becoming unstable. Indeed, the World Heart's pulsations had accelerated, its colors shifting more rapidly. The rotating rings surrounding it had begun to emit a high-pitched tone that set Eva's teeth on edge. Begin extraction, Alvarez ordered. No. Eva, Rodriguez, and Rorik moved simultaneously, weapons raised. What followed was chaos. Alvarez's guards opened fire as the technician activated the containment field. Energy bolts crisscrossed the chamber. Rodriguez took a hit to her shoulder but remained standing, returning fire with grim determination. Eva dove for cover behind ancient equipment, while Rorik used his superior speed to flank the Terran position. The World Heart's pulsations became violent as the containment field touched its surface. The temple itself seemed to respond. Tremors shook the floor, and the blue illumination flared painfully bright. "Shut it down," Eva shouted over the escalating whine of the rotating rings. "You're triggering a reaction." "Too late to stop now," Alvarez called back, a hint of madness in his voice. Future of humanity at stake. The technician, however, appeared increasingly panicked as readings on his equipment spiked beyond parameters. "General, these energy levels, we can't contain them. The field is failing." Eva saw her opportunity. As Alvarez turned to address the technician's concerns, she signaled to Rorik, who had circled behind them. With Kthar's swiftness, he launched himself at the containment equipment, claws shredding critical components before the guards could react. The disruption created a feedback surge. The containment field collapsed, releasing a pulse of energy that knocked everyone in the chamber off their feet. The World Heart's pulsations reached a frenzied pace, its colors swirling in patterns that hurt the human mind to observe. "What have you done?" Alvarez screamed, struggling to his feet. "Prevented catastrophe," Rorik growled. "Temple defenses now fully awakened. But chance remains to stabilize." The temple tremors intensified. Cracks appeared in the ancient floor and walls as reality itself seemed to fluctuate around the World Heart. In some areas of the chamber, space appeared to fold and distort, objects simultaneously near and far, present and absent. "How do we stabilize it?" Eva demanded, helping Rodriguez to her feet. "Ancient texts speak of balance ritual," Rorik explained urgently. "Need representative of different life paths to approach heart with unified purpose." In stories, was always Kthar, tribal leader and spiritual guide. "We don't have those," Eva said. "We have a human soldier, a Kthar warrior, and—" She glanced at Alvarez, who was staring in horror at the World Heart's increasingly erratic behavior. "Perhaps enough," Rorik suggested. Kthar and human, approaching together with purpose to protect both peoples. It was a desperate gamble, but as the World Heart's energy began to lash out, disintegrating anything it touched, they had few options. "General Alvarez," Eva called out, "help us stabilize it, or we all die here." Whether from self-preservation or a belated recognition of his error, Alvarez nodded shakily. "What do we do?" "Follow Kthar ritual approach," Rorik instructed. "Move in synchronization toward heart. Focus thought on protection, balance, containment. Touch outer ring simultaneously." Eva, Rorik, and Alvarez formed a triangle around the platform as Rodriguez provided covering fire against the remaining guards who still seemed intent on completing their mission despite the obvious danger. "Minds clear, purpose unified," Rorik intoned. "Step forward on my signal." They began the approach, 3 slow, measured steps toward the violently pulsating World Heart. The energy discharges intensified, lashing dangerously close. Eva felt her skin tingle and burn where the strange energies passed near. "Focus on balance, on containment," Rorik reminded them. "See in mind both peoples living in harmony with Xylos." Eva concentrated, pushing aside fear and doubt. She envisioned peace between humans and Kthar, cooperation instead of conflict, the protection of Xylos and its ancient wonders rather than their exploitation. As they reached the outer ring, the World Heart's chaotic pulsations briefly synchronized into a steady rhythm. "Now," Rorik commanded, "touch outer ring." The 3 of them placed their hands, human and Kthar, on the ancient material. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Energy flowed from the World Heart through their bodies, connecting them in a circuit of power and purpose. Eva felt Rorik's consciousness brush against hers. Alien, yet familiar, his dedication to his people, and his growing connection to her, creating a bridge between worlds. More surprisingly, she felt Alvarez too, his ambition and fear, but also his genuine belief that he had been acting for humanity's benefit, however misguided. The World Heart's erratic energies stabilized, its colors settling into a steady, harmonious pattern. The rotating rings slowed, then stopped, locking into a configuration that felt somehow right, balanced. As the energy circuit completed, a final pulse emanated from the heart, powerful but controlled. It passed through them harmlessly, but struck the technician and remaining guards who had refused to participate in the ritual. They vanished, not disintegrated, but simply removed, transported elsewhere by forces beyond comprehension. When the energy finally dissipated, Eva, Rorik, and Alvarez stumbled back from the platform, drained but alive. The World Heart now glowed with a steady, peaceful light. "What happened?" Alvarez asked, his voice weak and his normally commanding presence diminished. "Balance restored," Rorik explained, supporting Eva, who swayed slightly from the energy drain. "Heart accepted our unified purpose." Rodriguez approached cautiously, her weapon still trained on Alvarez. "Captain, are you all right?" Eva nodded, gradually regaining her strength. "I'm fine. The heart is stabilized." She turned to Alvarez. "You felt it too, didn't you? The connection? The truth?" The general's face showed conflict, the arrogance and ambition that had driven him still visible, but tempered now by understanding. "I saw possibilities. Futures." He looked at the World Heart with a mixture of awe and fear. "This was never something we could control. It's not a weapon or a power source. It's a nexus of realities. Ancient texts call it eye between worlds," Rorik confirmed. "Shows paths and possibilities, consequences of choices. Not meant to be removed or used, meant to guide, to teach." "And you were going to put it in a box," Eva said to Alvarez, unable to keep the accusation from her voice. Before Alvarez could respond, a distant explosion echoed through the temple, followed by the distinctive sounds of energy weapons. "The battle outside continues," Rodriguez reminded them. "We need to end this," Eva said firmly. "General Alvarez, order your forces to stand down. Tell them the truth about what's happening here." Alvarez hesitated, then nodded slowly. "You're right. This has gone too far." He activated his command comm unit. "This is General Alvarez to all Terran forces. Cease hostilities immediately. I repeat, cease all hostilities. The operation is terminated." After a brief pause, a confused acknowledgement came through. Rorik used a Cathar communication device to deliver similar instructions to their allied forces. "Now," Eva said, turning to Alvarez, "you're going to help us end this war for good. You'll testify about your conspiracy with the Shadow Claws, about the true nature of the World Heart, and about how both our peoples have been manipulated. My career, my freedom," Alvarez began, "are a small price for the lives your actions have cost." Eva cut him off. "But your testimony could save countless more. It's your chance for redemption." Something in Alvarez seemed to break, or perhaps heal. The calculating commander was replaced by a man facing the consequences of his choices. "I'll do it," he agreed quietly. "Whatever it takes to make this right." They ascended from the temple depths to find the battle had indeed ceased, though tension remained high between the Cathar clan warriors and Terran forces. Shadow Claw survivors had been secured as prisoners, their leadership structure shattered by the loss of their human collaborators. Over the next 3 days, an unprecedented gathering took place at the Temple of World Heart. Matriarch Solera arrived with a delegation of Cathar clan leaders, while senior Terran officers, summoned by Alvarez before his formal surrender, came to witness something extraordinary. In the Chamber of the World Heart, with representatives of both species present, General Alvarez confessed his conspiracy. He detailed how he had discovered references to the ancient technology and become obsessed with harnessing its power, how he had manipulated both sides to continue a war that served only as cover for his true operations. Eva and Rorik presented the evidence they had gathered, supported by testimony from Shadow Walkers and Windcliff warriors who had fought together against the Shadow Claws. Most compelling was the demonstration of the World Heart itself, carefully managed by Cthar scholars and Terran scientists working in unprecedented cooperation. The heart revealed glimpses of possible futures, continued war leading to mutual destruction, or cooperation yielding prosperity for both species. Even the most hardened military minds could not deny the vision presented by the ancient artifact. The ancients left this not as a weapon, Eva explained to the assembled leaders, but as a warning and a guide. They destroyed themselves by failing to achieve balance, the same mistake we've been making. This planet isn't meant to be conquered or exploited. It's meant to be shared and protected. Matriarch Solaris spoke through Rorik's translation. Cthar have guarded these temples for generations without understanding their full purpose. Now we see why ancients entrusted our ancestors with this knowledge. Not to hoard power, but to ensure it would only be discovered when both peoples were ready to use it wisely. Negotiations began there, in the shadow of the World Heart, the first genuine peace talks of the war. They would be lengthy and sometimes contentious, but the foundation had been laid. Mutual recognition of the disastrous path they had been following and a shared commitment to find a better way. With General Alvarez in custody and formal investigations launched into his co-conspirators, Eva found herself reassigned. Rather than punishment for her technically treasonous actions, she was appointed as the first Terran diplomatic liaison to the Cthar Unified Clans, a position created specifically to build on the unprecedented alliance she had helped forge. 2 weeks after the events at the temple, Eva stood on the observation platform at Windcliff once more, watching the jungle canopy spread out below as the 3 moons of Xylos rose. The beauty that had once been a backdrop to war now held new meaning, a shared heritage to be preserved. She sensed rather than heard Rorik's approach. Her time among the Cthar had sharpened her awareness of their movement patterns. "Peace delegation arrives tomorrow," he said, standing beside her. First formal visit of Terran diplomats to Cthar territory without military escort. Historic moment. And terrifying, Eva admitted with a smile. "I think I preferred fighting Shadow Claws to navigating diplomatic protocols." "We'll excel at both," Rorik assured her. "Already have respect of clans." Warrior who became peacemaker carries special honor among Cthar. They stood in companionable silence, watching the moons rise higher. So much had changed so quickly. The war wasn't officially over. Formal treaties would take months to negotiate, but ceasefire had held, and initial exchanges of prisoners and territory had proceeded smoothly. The revelation of Alvarez's conspiracy had created an opportunity for moderates on both sides to gain influence, pushing for coexistence rather than conquest. "I received new orders today," Eva said finally. "Once the diplomatic mission is established, I'm to return to Terran's Central Command to brief the full Admiralty on Cthar culture and societal structure." She paused. "They want me to bring a Cthar representative." Rorik's ear flicked in that now familiar gesture of interest. Logical choice. Know both cultures, trusted by Matriarch. It would mean leaving Xylos, Eva noted, seeing worlds you've never visited, being the first Cthar many humans have ever met in peace. Challenging. Important. Rorik turned to face her directly. "But personal question remains unanswered between us." Eva met his gaze. The weeks since their first encounter in the jungle had created something neither of them had anticipated, a connection that transcended species and cultural differences. What had begun as a desperate plea had evolved into mutual respect, then trust, then something deeper that neither Terran nor Cthar language seemed adequate to define. "Your offer in the jungle," Eva said softly, "to warm my bed. We never did resolve what that means for us now." "Offer stands," Rorik replied, his amber eyes unwavering. But meaning changed. Not submission now, but choice. Equal partnership. He gestured to the stars visible above the moons. "Many paths before us. Would walk same path, whatever worlds it crosses." Eva reached out, placing her hand against his chest in the Cthar gesture of trust she had learned. "I think I'd like that. Though there will be complications." Not everyone will understand or accept what we represent. Breaking new ground, Rorik reminded her, using her own words from days earlier. Someone must be first to show new possibility. His larger hand covered hers gently. Together, stronger than separately. Truth Heart showed us. Eva smiled and stepped closer, no longer Captain Rostova of the Shadow Walkers, or even the Terran diplomatic liaison, but simply herself, a woman who had found connection where she least expected it. Then yes, she said, I accept your offer, in all its cultural implications. Though I should warn you, Terran beds are probably smaller than you're used to. Rorik's rumbling laugh joined hers, echoing across the clifftop sanctuary of Windcliff. We'll adapt. Have good motivation. As the 3 moons of Xylos cast their combined light over the jungle world, Eva and Rorik stood together at the threshold of something new, not just for themselves, but for their peoples. The future the World Heart had shown them wouldn't come easily or quickly, but it was possible. A path existed where ancient enemies could become allies, where differences could strengthen rather than divide. And it had all begun with a desperate plea on a jungle battlefield. Don't kill me, human. I'll warm your bed. Words that had started as a tactic of survival had become a promise of something neither had dared imagine. A shared life, a shared purpose, and perhaps, in time, a shared understanding that transcended the boundaries of world and species. As Eva leaned against Rorik's solid presence, watching the stars wheel above the world they had helped save, she reflected that sometimes the universe's greatest gifts came disguised as its greatest challenges. All it took was the courage to see beyond the barriers of the past and the wisdom to choose a different future. Together, they would warm each other's path through whatever lay ahead.